Welcome back to the Coleman Co YouTube channel. I'm your host Megs with you as always, and today I'm talking about why motorsport partnerships and in particular sponsorships actually beats traditional advertising. So we have obviously our marketing agency Boutique Digital that we do out of home advertising. So we do billboards, we do TV, we do radio, we do social media, we do all of the advertising channels. And what we're seeing on the Coleman & Co side of things is how the ROI, or the return on your investment, for your marketing dollars can actually be amplified if you invest your budget or part of your budget into motorsport partnerships and sponsorships. So in this video, I'm going to go through exactly what that would look like. I'm going to show you how you can get your brand on TV for like $500. I'm going to tell you how you can get your brand in front of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people when we talk about trackside exposure. Also content creation value, and it's almost like influencer marketing, but like on steroids. Like, it's crazy. And really, I want to give you a cost comparison as well, because I know you're going to be like, okay, cool, like just tell me what it means for me in terms of my investment. So we're going to talk about that as well. So let's kick it off and talk about the return on investment. So it's not an unreasonable number for me to throw out there that we can actually give you back 200% on your marketing dollar, which sounds super bold. You're like, what the hell? But this is what we see with our motorsport partnerships in comparison to traditional advertising. Okay, so let's start with TV and overall media reach. So when you actually sponsor a driver or a team, your brand isn't sort of just tucked away in like a 30-second spot in amongst a bunch of other shows and ads and all that other stuff. We're talking like national coverage and across TV networks like Fox Sports, KO, and also Channel 7 as well. So which means you get the access to things like 7 Plus. We're all about, catch up TV these days. And you not only get it live on Fox Sports and on KO, you also get the ability to have it replayed as well. So you're reaching millions and millions of viewers each round. And actually, because 70% of KO subscribers watch on a big screen at home, it's not just on your phone in someone's pocket or like on an iPad or something like that. It's front and center in their lounge room, and it's for hours at a time. So if you buy a traditional TV media, if you buy a 15-second or a 30-second spot, it'll get put in, like I said before, randomly in a show or in a bunch of other ad breaks, and you will then have to make sure squeeze your eyes to make sure that you don't miss it. Whereas with motorsport, that that driver that you're partnering with, you get to watch them go around the track a bunch of times. Their sessions are minimum half an hour at a time as well. So it's not just like, okay, cool, I don't know how to get the best out of my investment if I put that into TV advertising and I can buy one spot for 10 grand. Because if you're buying prime time, which actually all of our motorsport drivers are all obviously driving in prime time, you're not just trying to pay 10K to get a teeny little bit of visibility across there. You've actually got quite a lot of broad exposure when you're talking about being on multiple times and in your face in multiple ways as well. So that's sort of the TV media side of things, where there is a automatic, you can hear by the way that I'm saying, is it's a absolute no-brainer. If you're looking at TV advertising and dropping 10K all morning to buy 3 spots in prime time versus dropping half of that with a driver, and you get more TV time, we get more airtime, and it's more recognizable, and it's more you actually just get more exposure. So it's just basically more of everything. So the other place where motorsport marketing and partnering with drivers is really powerful is the trackside exposure. So it's not like a pop-up in a mall that you were to do, and again, that can cost you in upwards of 5K, especially when you are looking at things like merchandising or stands or displays or anything like that. You've actually got a captive audience of tens of thousands up to 100,000 people, of people that are at the circuit every single race weekend. So seeing your brand on a car, on the car, on the driver's suit, in pit signage, you've got lots of different points of which you can really captivate audiences, and we can utilize things like QR codes to scan back. We can put websites, we can do all of those things. But the kicker is, it's not just like they see it and then they don't think about it again and they move on. If you've got photos with a driver and then people post that on their social media, your brand's automatically on a bunch of other social medias. They take photos, they take video, they share socially all of the content that they've taken with the drivers. Meet and greets are such a powerful way of connecting with our the drivers with their audience, obviously, and with their fan base. So it's really a fun way to spend our race weekend, getting lots of photos with the fans who are taking photos with their favorite drivers. So your brand becomes part of their race day memory. And motorsport fans are just different. Like, they really genuinely do support the businesses that support their teams. And if you look at the VF Supercars, for example, you've had longevity in all of those brands. And if you look at, you can quite easily identify in the top 10 of the field and even further down, those big businesses that are actually capitalizing and have capitalized on it throughout the years. So this isn't just a one and done race, the way we go. It's like, how do we create long-term value for, our partnership brands and businesses? So that's a way where you can literally have a engaged in-person audience if you partner with a driver, which is super fun. The other piece of this, and look, this is probably one of my favorites, and I think because I just love content creation in general, but on top of TV and on top of trackside, you've also got content. So drivers today are storytellers as much as they are athletes. Social media and them require needing to be present and engaging on their social media is literally up there with their media training, with their driver training, with everything they need to do to make sure that their brand as a driver is, impactful, and you can, and they're remembered, because it's exactly the same. If you put a bunch of businesses next to each other, you're always going to remember the person that stands out. And where motorsport people, in my opinion, have to work a little bit harder is that they have visors, that completely shut off their face. If you look at traditional advertising, if you look at AFL, for example, if you bought an LED screen around the ground, it's actually the investment in that is eye-watering. And so obviously, yes, you get the crowds that are in attendance and you also get it on TV. However, it's literally for 15 to 30 seconds around the whole thing. And you've got players that are running in between all of that. So unless you are unlike motorsport, obviously, you see their faces and you know who they are. Whereas when you've got cars that are rolling around a track, the drivers have to work really hard to differentiate themselves once their visor is closed. So they have, mastered this way of being a personality brand and of providing that value to their partners by, being seen and showing up. So the best part about partnering with a race car driver in particular is that there is no end of content that we can create on a race weekend. So we can do behind the scenes reels. We can do branded sponsor shout outs. We can do feature brands in race recaps. All of our drivers, we work with them to make sure that we do updates after every single session. So practice, qualifying, every single race. So I'm there with microphone and camera in their face after every single session, because one, it's an opportunity to shout out our brands. Two, it's an opportunity for them to get really good at talking to camera. But three, if they're not in the main game, for example, or if they're not, every single session of theirs isn't televised, or it's a round that's not broadcasted on KO or mainstream at all, you have a way to connect with their fans still, and they have a way to connect with their fans still. So the best part about doing that with businesses and the value that we see is that they can actually repurpose it. So because they've become very good actors, effectively, and storytellers, the content that we create for our partners that come on board for race weekends is, I'm really mindful when we're shooting it, is okay, cool, how can they repurpose this? Can this go across long form and on short form? Is this a photo where we can put their brand, front and center right next to the car and the driver, and they can share that? So in our minds, when we're shooting the content, we can utilize it so many different ways. So whether it's email marketing, you add it to your website, and it's also authentic and super relatable. And marketing kind of really just down to create yourself. Business owners have enough to worry about. If you're working with an agency to create your content, this should actually really be part of it. So let's talk about pound for pound costs. Pardon the pun. I don't know, that's a boxing reference. I'm talking about motorsport, but here we are. So a single 30-second TV, on primetime sport in particular, it can cost 10 grand or more, and it runs once. It's literally once. For that same spend, like I said, even less, we're talking 5K for a pretty high impact campaign. You can actually be on the grid for the entire season. So not just, 30 seconds, we're talking 30 minutes per session, and there's typically up to 6 sessions a weekend. So you are obviously front and center on an exposure from the grid. So that's multiple hours of national broadcast exposure, trackside visibility, social content. And like I said, the motorsport fans are some of the most loyal fans ever of any sport that I've ever seen. So they really want to support the brands that support their favorite drivers. So if you're giving them an option to buy, your product instead of your competitors, if you're front and center on a car that they love with a driver that they love, guarantee you they'll be buying yours. So it's one investment, multiple channels, and it's just the proven to more than double return on your spend. So that's how we say motorsport marketing beats traditional advertising every single time. And if you look at outdoor advertising, for example, so like, we've got a billboard on the side of like a super busy, freeway, highway, whatever. If you're looking at that, if you actually think about the types of people and the mindset that people who are going to be seeing that billboard are in, it's very, very different to somebody who is coming in on race day. So for example, I am driving to work, it's 8:30, I'm running late, I've had to drop the kids off and they've had, a tantrum in the back, and I'm driving to a job I don't particularly like. I look up and I see a brand and I'm like, oh yeah, cool, like whatever. One, our recall in that kind of headspace is not great, but two, I'm obviously already not in the headspace to even receive that information. So forget recall, like even just absorbing that information is like super unlikely. Whereas when you've got fans who are at somewhere that they love and their happy place, meeting their favorite drivers and watching their favorite sport, even on TV, regardless of whether it's, in-person activation or on TV, you're getting them in a really super exciting headspace. And if you've got a driver passionately talking about your product and your brand, trust me, it like literally will be so ingrained in their mind that you will be front of mind for anything coming up in the future. So just something to keep in mind as you look at ways to diversify and make your marketing budget work hard for you. So we are always here at Coleman Co to support our drivers, obviously in gaining partnerships with businesses, but we are also really about returning that investment for our brands, because we want this to be a beautiful long-term relationship. And on our boutique digital, on the marketing side, we actually allocate funds of our clients' advertising budget to motorsport, and it just works so beautifully together. So if you want any more information, please feel free to either comment below, come over to our socials. All of our contact ways of contacting us will be in the, I would say show notes, this is the podcast, in the description of this video. And if you have any more information, we would love for you to reach out, and I will see you in the next video.